I can see it.
Okay, excellent. Good morning.
Good
Assalamu alaikum.
morning. Good morning. God morgon.
Good morning. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good pronunciations. Good Swedish pronunciation. Good morgon. Good morning.
Okay, good. Let me.
Hope you're all well today and that fall is treating you well. I've been noticing, Shua, in your window, the leaves are kind of raining down behind you. It's beautiful.
Yes, please.
When the sun shines on there, it almost looks as if you have a lake behind there, but I happen to know it's a lawn.
Oh, yes, yes.
Mm.
And the leaves are falling. So
Mm.
I will begin again.
Yes.
Recording just started. So,
All right.
Assalamu alaikum.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So, say it again. What did you see? Did you think that that was a pool? It
Well,
looks like,
it
feels
looks
like.
like a lake outside and like the reflections of the leaf and the trees.
Hmm, hmm.
But when the sun shines on there, now the sun has kind of moved a
Yes,
little bit, I think,
yes.
but I can still see leaves raining down a little bit every
Yes,
now and then behind you,
yeah.
Sean.
And I see some cars going behind you. You have very
Yep.
beautiful
We have
trees
College
or green.
Avenue here, very
Oh,
busy.
nice, nice, nice. Okay, so good morning, everybody.
Good
You
morning.
are live with Jenny and Shua on Holy and Me Together. Please remember to subscribe, Light Up with Shua, if you haven't done so. This is a production of Light Up with Shua. Holy Envy is in its last week. Today is our episode 6, and tomorrow our live episode 7 is coming up. So you might have seen on YouTube and Facebook. We will be coming first on the Facebook and on YouTube and then on Facebook live with our episode 7 with Jenny and Shua. And it's a rich packed, I don't know, it's going to be live. So
Yeah,
surprises.
we're gonna try to be succinct and pack up an interesting summary of our 6 episodes
Yes.
into a 15-minute program
Yes.
and
Yes.
share our takeaways and highlights and what we think could be explored further. And as
Yes.
usual, we're always interested to hear what your thoughts and ideas might be on these
Yes.
topics. But today we are following up our episode last week, which we've called "How Do We Do It?" on the topic of diversifying your life, diversifying our life. We always like to give our own examples and our circle of friendships and so on. And can I start with a little comment from my dad again?
Oh, yes, please.
He said,
And tell where your dad is.
oh yeah. My dad and mom are in Sweden. That's where I come from, and thank God for internet. I must say, for all these clever people who worked in the tech industry and allow us to actually be together while far apart. I must say, um, and particularly, of course, when it's not possible to travel as well. And even when it is possible to travel, it is good that we don't travel at all time. It's both costs money and it costs nature, right? So thanks to WhatsApp and Skype and so on, we managed to keep, a great contact. And that goes with friends as well, and back in Sweden and England and family. Anyway, so mom and dad are watching us, perhaps even now, who knows? And on the topic of diversity, anyway, dad was saying how a rainbow. Imagine a rainbow that is one of the most beautiful things that you can see. Uh, and imagine that with only one color. That just wouldn't be so interesting, would it? It is when all the aspects in the prism are shown that really beauty comes together. Anyway, that was dad's comment to our topic.
Oh, wow. Nice. Deep and So
He had read it somewhere, but I'm now just quoting him. I can't remember
right,
where he was
right.
quoting it from. He'll tell me later.
No, but to watch, you know, to s- to think about our show, and I think he respects you so much. That shows that he's watching and thinking and having all these thoughts about the show, and different aspects of our show, or some kind of thought that comes up when he's watching uh, whatever we are discussing and all. So that's
Sure,
really
sure.
very flattering in a way for me, especially because he's all the way in Sweden. But that shows his respect for you, which is very nice to see. And I have met them, and they are amazing people,
I'm
both
very
of them.
grateful. I'm
Very
very
good.
grateful.
Thank you.
Actually, on I do you know, sure, I'm putting on your spot, but let's just fast forward a
Yes.
quick one to say, speaking of parents and parenting, how we as parents can influence our kids, right?
Hmm.
Both ways,
That's true.
you know.
That's true.
We can, we can make sure that things get tough for them. That is, I've seen that very close up, and the struggles that comes with it, and how it can, something good can come out, but also if you give the tools there for start with, if you give a good foundation and values, then that is what can more easily bloom as well.
Mm,
And
mm,
on the topic of diversity, actually, and diversifying, this is something that we will talk about today
mhm.
as well,
Yep.
and how we can, like I said in the previous show here, episode 6, I said I've been using my kids for my own advantage, because back in Sweden now, I was interested in actually getting to know more new Swedish people, more people with immigrant background, and get more friends,
Mm,
frankly, from people of different backgrounds, because I thought it's interesting for me, and it's fun for me, but it's also important on a more of a bird's perspective level,
mm,
that
mm,
people come together, right?
mm, mm,
And by using my children and making sure that they were in a preschool that was in a different, technically in a different city than I was in, or borough rather,
mm,
uh, but it was still very close. But these two suburbs were wholly, or are still wholly different, socio-economically and ethnically.
mm,
We lived in a very white area. Very.
mm.
There were immigrants, such as my husband, but he's English. So
No.
he would never be called immigrant. He
Right.
doesn't have black hair and black beard. He
Mm,
would be called English.
mm.
And I know that this goes for many other countries, if I generalize, right? Um, so,
Definitely.
and right next door was the suburb where I grew up and where my parents still live, which is has a completely different demography. Demography, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where in that school, perhaps, I don't know, something like 90% of the children have immigrant background.
Mm,
So, and it was convenient for us to have our kids in the preschool there anyway, because also my parents could help to pick them up sometimes and things like that. And it was close, but it
mm,
wasn't, we
mm,
had to make a special effort because technically it was not our area, so to speak.
mm, mm,
Anyway, what the consequence of this diversifying move, so to speak, was indeed that I did gain uh, new uh, friendship, different from the ones I would have gained if they had been in the other suburb. And
mm,
that is not to say that those friendships aren't great too. And
mm,
absolutely they are. But for in this, with this particular lens that we are having, this was the consequence. And the consequence was also that my children grew up with friends of all colors, and when at preschool, when they were great. When we would have family days where we would celebrate different traditions, where people would come from. People would bring food from their, origin country or etc. So it was a really enriching experience. And actually, my daughter considered her friend from when she was 2 years old still her best friend. And she goes, "Oh, I have two best friends," she said, when she was 3 years old. We were walking home, pulling the little sled in the snow. She goes, "Got two best friends. One is brown and one is beige."
Oh, can I interrupt here? Did you have any challenges with the children or yourself in those neighborhoods, or?
In that, nothing of nothing of an uncomfortable nature, I must say. The thing that I was a little different, I think, was sometimes I felt a little tougher to get to know people. Actually, I felt I had to make maybe a little bit of an extra push.
Yeah.
And that could also be, for example, I think in the case of one of my other kids, that your parents were so incredibly busy. They were working nights, for example. So, it wasn't as easy to get play dates going, etc., etc. But when it happened, it really happened, and so on. But so sometimes that's something I could discover. I remember also a lovely woman. We didn't keep in contact because they moved, but I could see her slight, I would say, nervousness almost to go, "Oh, I now can't speak English with," as if my English was more limited than it is. But she would be embarrassed that her language, her Swedish, wasn't, so good yet, and so on, and have this way of going, "Oh, we don't know things." And I would say, "Well, stop it. You've come here, you're learning a completely new language. You're doing great, And actually, speaking of challenges, Shua, that can be a challenge. Let's be honest here, that when you come from vastly different backgrounds, maybe different languages, different all sorts, it will take some time. Sometimes I think it takes longer until you get to a commonality in terms of shared experiences in the topics that you might chat about, such as what music did you listen to growing up?
Yep.
What TV programs? Or like that can be a challenge because you just don't have the same references. And that, so and I actually have an example of that myself, living in England when I moved there to my boyfriend, now husband, John. And I then was pretty fluent in English already, but still I felt I couldn't quite be myself. And I remember one evening, fairly early on, coming home from the pub, having met friends. And I said to John, I'm like, "I'm normally more fun than this. I'm used to be quicker, like telling jokes quickly." But their conversation, and remember, this is still Europe. We're all like very similar in European, but their frame of reference would be, let's say, TV personalities, journalists, etc., etc. I don't know what shows they watched as children, so I couldn't join in the same way in the jargon, let's say. But after a while, and then that, of course, then for me being here, that is vaguely the same thing again, but also for me being here, meeting other people who again have different frames of references, or me being back in Sweden where I have grown up and I have the same frame of reference as so many others, then meeting people who might have moved there, 7 years ago, it will the topics of conversations might be different. It might take longer to get to a place where you can joke around, etc., in the way you're used to. But some things are, of course, very similar. I've been in an integration project the last time. I had a small one, my now 6-year-old, when she was a baby. I was in a baby group for parents, and the whole idea of this very project was in order for people, particularly mothers then, because it was when the kids were babies, to get together from different areas and from different cultures to get to know each other. And that was a fantastic project, because then, of course, you came together as parents, and you go, okay, well, here is a real similarity, right? Oh, how do you deal with breastfeeding or waking up at night, or the kids being so and so. And that became a beautiful experience.
That's nice. So they were diverse people in there.
Yes, that was the
Okay.
whole point of this
Point was,
project.
oh, nice.
Was
nice.
actually, and that of course is Sweden being Sweden, where you have a year of parental leave with 80% of your salary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. Good.
Yeah. But,
See, there is something about that point that should be applicable somewhere.
yeah, well, don't get me started with the
Oh, no,
politics.
we will talk about that later. But
But that is exactly because one thing that comes with time, to be able to have time. Time is luxury,
yes,
as we often say to each other, you and me, Shua.
yes, that's true. And thank you for
We
being
don't have
here.
to work 3 jobs, and we couldn't sit here and chat to each other, you and me, this morning.
Yes. So that's another thing that we can talk
Yeah.
about. But that's very important. So I just don't want to talk about it just by passing by. I want to pay more, a little more, few more minutes on what you just mentioned. But before we do that, I will talk about how do we do it, and how did we do it, and how did we get into this field of work. And briefly we will touch upon little incidents so that people can get some idea, our watchers, our viewers, our listeners, that and I welcome you again, invite you all in our live conversation here. You can comment through YouTube and let me know what you think of your experiences. Please do share about how do you do it. If you don't, are you thinking of exploring or tapping into other ethnicities, traditions and all? So the whole point is to bring us together in harmony with our differences. We will all have differences. We have differences in our families, in our friendships. I mean, Jenny and I are most probably in many things far apart, and sometimes I think I have also found that the outer look is not necessarily creating the difference. We might be very similar, actually only the difference might be the outer look that we have. And at times I have experienced that people who look like me are sees apart from what my mindset and my values are, or my or theirs are. I mean, not to put anybody down, but the difference of things, that the way we do it, the way we eat, the way we tackle issues, and how do we go for it. Like I have that and I think I will be talking about that soon, not soon, but next year. That I will be bringing about also, that what type of programming will be coming next year. Nothing too outrageously different, but definitely will be some more additions to topics which I have been meaning to cover in our own communities. So if I look similar to one of my community members, or from Pakistan, or who is a Muslim, but they are seas apart from me in tens of things. And Jenny and I are very similar in many of the things, like the things we are doing, which is getting into NGOs, and this is all volunteer work. Okay, this is all the work that we are doing is voluntary work. And again, that is not to show that, oh, we are so great and we are volunteering, but we have the responsibility that I was talking to Jenny, because we have the time and resources to do what we do, which is, so I want to do a talk about Jenny. CMM, we got to meet each other in Cooperative Metropolitan Ministries, but Jenny has been a social worker. She has been working in Sweden in this area. What she just mentioned earlier about getting mothers and children together was in Sweden, uh, getting into diverse group of mothers with their children. Then here I see Jenny uh, all the time. She is into projects, music projects, whether they're interfaith, intercultural. She is doing this Faneuil Hall New Democracy Coalition that she's so um, very much involved. And I am speaking on behalf of her, and she will be able to I'll talk about it a little later. But I do want to appreciate her efforts that she is uh, doing all this voluntary work. And thank God she is able physically, mentally, and she has all these resources and a supportive family who is allowing her to do all this. And she is taking time out and going for this hero organization, New Democracy Coalition, Black Lives Matter. She's singing, she's participating in interfaith dialogues that you have been doing with Ruha, and multiple other things. And similarly, what I do is, and if you want to talk a little more about it, you can after I say that in my town of Groton, since I came back to, because I have been traveling with my family a lot, but I have been in Ohio and New Jersey, and now we are here. And this doesn't mean I have been very privileged and thankful. I'm grateful to be able to travel, and not in my own jet though, in commercial flights. Just want to make
What?
sure.
Don't you have your own jet?
No, I
That's
don't. Not yet.
outrageous.
Oh, yes. Not yet. And I don't plan to have it. But just to say that way, I don't want to come across that, oh, all that, that side note, that side little voice is talking to me like, oh, you just said that. Well, it shouldn't sound so
Let it out.
grandiose and all that, right?
Yeah.
But basically, trying to do, because I learned from my faith and tradition that if you have resources and if your stomach is full and if you have shelter, good shelter, and uh, clothes to wear and food to eat, I think it becomes a very high big responsibility on you to to watch out for people who don't have that, whether they are basic things, whether it's food or water. Especially water is very precious also, but that's another topic. But what I want to say is, in Groton, Massachusetts, I have been very active in my interfaith activities. I've tried to introduce Islamic tradition, Islamic faith in my own uh, limited knowledge that I have. I'm increasing it, and I will be giving my classes in November and December. And the town has been very welcoming, although it is very white town. It's much better now. It has more diversity. But people are trying to learn and people are welcoming me. So it goes both ways, I would say.
Can I ask, Shua,
Yes.
how did the Groton Interfaith Council come about? Were you part of when it was created?
Yes, it was a Groton Council of Churches, I think, and that's how when I came, and in 2008 and 9 it started becoming, because without taking names, I don't know if I should take his name, who and all the people who were involved in it were uh, realizing that there is no Muslim person or Jewish person who can be participating in those activities that they wanted. So there were people who didn't want it to be only Christian organization or only white Christian organization or as such. So there was no diversity. And now, in all over these years, you will be amazed that there are all kinds of people: Hindus, Muslims, Jewish, Buddhist, Christians, of course, of all denominations, and Native Americans, and so we are all in there. They in the
Isn't that
beginning of it.
amazing?
Yes.
And that's not so long ago.
Well, it is. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
now.
10,
It's about
11.
9 years. 9 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been. Oh wow, it's nine,
I
10
think
years.
that's amazing to think,
Yes.
like, it's important in these times of polarization and worry,
Yes.
that this is a wonderful example of how things can evolve in a fairly short time, actually. And I've been to some of your events, Shua.
Yes.
I think the last time I went was when you were filming, you had a screening of the film The Sultan and the Saint. It
Yes.
was
Yes.
great with the
Yes. Yes.
discussion following,
Yes. Yes.
and so
Yeah. This is the type of
this is
work.
an excellent example of how do we do it, which
Right.
is what we're talking about, examples of how we as individuals or as families for that matter can take our little steps to enrich in our own lives by um, by reaching out to organizations that exist already, or by reaching out to like that colleague, that neighbor, that uh, friend of your kids, or whoever, and ask, shall we have a coffee, or do you want to come over, or
I want to add there also, yes, that by film screening and all, so you don't have to be always in the leadership position to do that. There are people who are doing it, and you can join in and get comfortable. If you want to lead the programs, like I have been film screening and having dialogues, or going into libraries, in my local library and others, speaking about what you want to, especially for interfaith. If I wanted to introduce Pakistan in the positive sides of Pakistan, because we all, and I introduce positive sides of the United States when I am in Pakistan. So I'm trying to bridge the gaps from, because there's always something good in every person, every nation. There is always good. So try to bring that out rather than polarizing, as you said, or bringing negativity all the time, because we all have that. But I think that should be lesser in quantity, and the positivity should be in more quantity, in order for us to keep a balance. This is not a balance, like we don't have to have an equal kind of level of negativity and positivity in these things, which is you know, being empathetic and being nice to each other, human beings. So I think we have talked about your organizations and mine, but the point is, how do you do it, how do you get into it? Is, if you want to lead, you can do fine. There is so much nowadays. We can, I will leave in my show notes some more names of
please,
the organizations that I have been part of, like Unity Production Foundation is an organization that helps through media, which is the that Saint and Sultan was their production.
yeah.
Okay, and other films like that, City of Lights, and about Spain, and about Prophet Muhammad, and three faiths, or Jewish faith and Christian faiths coming together. There's quite a
Oh,
bit
sure.
in
What
there. Yeah.
about that organization, Pardeep, the Sikh guy,
Oh yes,
and
yes, yes,
that you interviewed? That
yes.
organization that him and his now friend, who used to be
Arno,
uh,
yes, white,
a white
ex-white
supremacist,
supremacist. Yes, yes, yes.
that they
So,
founded.
so Pradeep Singh Kalika is also, and Arno have been working on since the shooting of Sikh temple in Wisconsin. They have they have started this the forgiveness project, which they have been
That's
working
what it was
together,
called.
and yeah, the forgiveness project,
Forgiveness
and they are
Project.
all over the country. Internationally, they have been traveling, and they are talking about reducing the polarization and
Mm.
divisiveness in our relationships, and white supremacy and all these kind of issues. And especially they address youth. They
Mm.
are they are great mentors. They have written a book together, and I think
Yes,
you have read it. And
I've read it.
what
It's called.
title
It is called The Gift. Oh,
of
this is a
our,
powerful title.
yeah,
The Gift of Our Wounds. It's
yes,
called.
the gift of our voice.
in that, and it's a great book, and they are also, actually, speaking of coming back to diverse relationships, actually they are there writing about like one chapter each, and you can see how these two guys have become friends more and more,
very much friends.
And let's also just say to our listeners and viewers here that one of the guys, his father was one of the victims in a killing of his Sikh temple, and the person who did the killings came from this white supremacist radical organization that had once upon a time been founded by this other guy who had come to a complete change of heart.
Yep.
And these two men who you could think should be, really enemies, are now friends and doing this together.
Yep.
And I have a point that I'm going to come to, which is that in the book, you can see how they more and more become friends and they have fun. And in these times in particular of uncertainty, worry, etc., resilience building is key here. And I've been thinking about this and talking about this a lot, discussing with people in my different networks. And one thing that I think more and more is that having fun. We must have fun, as much fun as we can, because and bombard ourselves with art, music, like social positive interaction in a safe way, wear your mask, etc. But because that is resilience building in the long run, and to do that together while having these peacemaking efforts and charitable efforts as well in this time of so many people losing out, right, is just the perfect combination.
Yep, that's true. Do you want to talk about your upcoming event on November 7th?
Shua was mentioning CMM, so let's just say that's Cooperative Metropolitan Ministries, which is an interfaith organization. Another interfaith organization is GBIO, Greater Boston Interfaith Organization. We have something that I want to check out more is something called Living Room Conversations. That's some kind of initiative to bring people from vastly different perspectives and normally, of the political spectrum, coming together to have civil conversations. This is something I want to look up more. I have a friend who has looked it up for me. But then what I wanted to promote was an event coming up on November 7th. It's a Saturday in a few weeks, and it's going to be at 1:00 at Faneuil Hall, or as we have started to call it, Slave Trader Hall, because Faneuil Hall was built upon slave money. And this organization, newdemocracycoalition.org, has made tireless, peaceful, reaching out efforts for over 3 years to have the mayor consider a hearing to change the name of Faneuil Hall, and by doing so also obviously addressing the immorally large economic discrepancy between Black families and white families, etc. So please join us. It's going to be a safely distanced and outdoor event with really interesting speakers and some theatrical enactment and music and so on.
Okay.
November 7th, 1:00.
Okay, 1:00. All right. I'll try to put this also in our this is a live show, so I can update this with the in this information and all these organizations that we mentioned. I want to just mention also that do tune in tomorrow, and we have a lot to say, a lot to talk about. However, If you have any questions regarding any organizations, if you want to learn how to join us, please do so. Oh, and Jenny's phone is still going on.
I put it on airplane mode. What more can I do? I not turned off the thing. Oh my God. Gosh, I feel like
So,
150 years old. I can't even.
you never
I
know,
can't
she might be. I mean, I'm just thinking now
who
that
know? I'm
maybe
just
she is.
using
Yeah,
good creams.
yeah, I know, I know. So,
Take lots of yogurt.
oh, good. So, anyways, people who are listening, our viewers, our audience, our you know anywhere in the world, if you happen to listen to this broadcast, please let us know what you think. There is always a way in your capacity, in your whatever is comfortable for you. You begin from there to build your relationships within your communities. I always encourage that intra relations, intra communication, interfaith relations are very important. If you are comfortable there, then you will be able to go beyond your circles. And if you're not comfortable there, start from the outer circles. The way I have attended Native American circles before the pandemic, and I hope to join them. And they are doing it online nowadays, and I have been not able to join them yet. But you can nowadays, if you are not sure, it's the best time to start learning about other communities online, because then physically, if you have some anxiety about being with other people at that moment, so maybe we can begin with online, and then
Oh,
once we are out of this
thousands of
pandemic,
webinars, etc. Yeah.
yeah, so then they can then you can meet people in person and just learn about them from distance and join their communities, each other's communities, each other's communities.
And
And
actually, can I,
yeah,
sorry, I
yeah,
need to jump in because uh, coalition buildings is also so important. Like just 2 weekends ago, I think it was when it was Independence, no, Columbus
Columbus
Day
Day.
slash Indigenous Peoples Day,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so there was a big march in central Boston on the Saturday for Indigenous Peoples Day, and who joined in with the Faneuil Hall effort of the New Democracy Coalition that I just mentioned, which became a incredibly like just stark example of how we are often, fighting or the same causes or having the same and so it's not like separate battles, but we can join in for the common uh, good. So
Yes, yep, yep, that's true.
go on, Shua,
Definitely.
sorry.
No, that's okay. um So I hope you have enjoyed our conversation today, and you will be there tuning in tomorrow with our live episode 7. So it's won't be recorded already, and it will be live tomorrow. And we will be taking, if you have any comments, we can talk to you tomorrow. So tomorrow at 2 o'clock we will be on YouTube, and I have scheduled on Facebook at 2:45. We might come early there. We want to finish it around 2:30 on YouTube, and then get to Facebook Live as well, and go there for 15 to 20 minutes or so. But Jenny, anything else you want to say? We talked about our organizations,
uh,
how you do it through your kids. That's how I did it, because as I mentioned, that I grew up in a multicultural, diverse environment. That was easier for me, but I do realize there's always a way to do it, even if you didn't grow up that way. You can always look, if you think that you want to learn and teach about who you are. Actually, it's not only learning about others, but educating and teaching others of your community, your way of cooking, your way of wearing, or your some thought provoking ways of life, or anything. Maybe not everybody bakes the apple pie same way, so you can maybe share your recipes. I cook.
I prefer to eat other people's apple pies rather than my own, I must say.
Okay. Yep. Yep. And so we welcome you to this conversation. Please have it, if not with us, have it in your communities, have it in your houses of worship. If you are not, you think that is not for you, you can join in through online nowadays. You can explore, find out, and we will leave some links. And also talk to me. I can always. Or Jenny, if you have a particular kind of community that you want to connect to, and have always wondered, like, what do these Swedish people do? What do they eat? And also, you can connect to Jenny. And I don't know too much about Swedish, but
Come over,
I,
I'll give you pickled herring.
oh yeah. Oh, okay. So, anyways, stay tuned. I think we should end it here.
Yeah, take
And
care.
take care, everybody, and remember to subscribe. And also, I wanted to say we couldn't arrange it, but Jenny is a very good singer. I really like her singing. Do go to
As
her
is Schwam.
Facebook page, and she has some performances there as well. I was hoping that we will perform something for you today. You never know, we might do it tomorrow. So
Yeah, who
we will
knows?
see. Yeah.
Who knows?
All right.
Yeah.
Take care. Have a good
Take
week.
care. Thank you,
And
Schwa.
thank you, Jenny. Stay well, stay happy, and keep building your
Keep building.
relationship. Ships.
Good advice.